In the heart of Cairo, under the dim glow of lanterns, a quiet storm brewed. The Mamluks, once slave boys brought from the Caucasus and Central Asia, had risen through the ranks of Ayyubi's army. They were no longer mere soldiers, they were a brotherhood forged by hardship, loyalty, and the art of war. But behind the palace, war whisper spread. Whispers that the Ayyubi rulers had grown weak, distracted by luxury and politics. The Mamluks, loyal only to the growth, strength, and faith, begin to wonder, perhaps no longer belong to kings born in palaces, but to warriors born in chains. The spark came in 1250. Sultan As-Saleh Ayyub, the last great Ayyubi ruler, fell ill and died midst of the Seventh Crusade. Panic spread through Egypt. Without his command, chaos would follow, but his widow, the intelligent and bold Shajar al-Durr, refused to let the empire collapse. In secret, she did the Sultan's death, continued issuing orders in his name, and allied herself with the Mamluks, the only man she could trust. Together, they plotted a defense that would shock the world. Meanwhile, across the sea, King Louis of France led a massive crusader army, believing Egypt was ready to fall, but what awaited him at Mansoura was not chaos. It was the fury of Mamluks. They lured the crusaders into city, narrow streets cutting off their escape arrows rained, blade clashed, and Nile itself turned red. The invincible army of Christendom was broken, and their king, Louis himself, was captured alive. It was humiliation the Crusaders would never forget, and the victory that made the Mamluks heroes in the eyes of people. After Mansoura, the truth was clear. It was not the Ayyubis who saved Egypt, it was the Mamluks. The people chanted their names, the scholars blessed them, and the soldiers pledged allegiance to their own commander. Shajar al-Durr was declared Sultana, ruling briefly before yielding to powerful Mamluk generals. In that moment, the old dynasty fell and a new empire was born. The Mamluk Sultanate, it was a revolution not the bloodlines but of merit, courage, and faith. Among the Mamluks, one name echoed louder than all the others: Baybars al-Bandukdari, tall, fierce, and brilliant. Baybars was born a slave, sold every soul, until destiny forged him into a legend. His mind was sharp as his blade, and his loyalty to Islam was unbreakable. When he led men into battle, even fear seemed to kneel. Baybars became the symbol of everything the Mamluks stood for: discipline, justice, and unshakable resolve. But peace never lasts for long. In the east, a storm of fire was approaching. The Mongols. They had already crushed the Abbasid Caliphate, burned Baghdad, and slaughtered scholars and children alike. Their next target, Syria and Egypt. When envoys of the Mongols, General Halaku Khan, reached Cairo, their message was simple: surrender or be destroyed. The Mamluks executed the envoys. There would be no surrender, no fear. The defenders of Islam prepared for war. Under Sultan Qutuz, the Mamluk army marched north. Among them rode Baybars, his eyes fixed on destiny. Every soldier knew the odds. They were outnumbered and facing an enemy that had destroyed everything in its path. Yet their hearts were unshaken as the call to prayer echoed through the valleys of Palestine. Qutuz stood before his men and declared, "Paradise lies ahead, the Mongols behind. Fight for Islam." The army roared back with one voice, "Allahu Akbar." The two armies met and ate Jalut. Arrows filled the sky like swarms of locusts. Horses collided and the earth shook. The Mongols attacked with unmatched ferocity, but Baybars had laid a trap. His forces pretended to retreat, drawing the Mongols into the valley. Straight into the ambush, when Qutuz gave the signal, hidden Mamluk reserves charged down from the hills, smashing into enemies' flanks. The Mongols, for the first time, knew what defeat tasted like. When the dust settled, the world had changed. The Mongols, the terror of nations, had been stopped by the people who were once slaves. Qutuz and Baybars stood victorious, their swords dripping with the dawn of a new era. Across the Muslim world, the news spread like wildfire. Islam had survived and the Mamluks had become its saviors. After Qutuz's death, Baybars became Sultan. Under his rule, Egypt and Syria flourished. He restored the Abbasid Caliphate in Cairo, rebuilt mosques, fortified the cities. He reformed the army, the economy, and the law. But most importantly, he ruled with justice. He walked among the people, disguised, ensuring no one was oppressed. To the west, he was the Lord of Islam. To people, he was guardian of faith. The victory at Ain Jalut did more than save Islam. It inspired generations. The Mamluk Empire became a sanctuary for scholars, refugees, and poets. Fleeing Mongol destruction, Cairo became the new center of learning, trade, and art. Their minarets pierced the city, then the sky. Their libraries overflowed with wisdom from slaves to sultans. They rewrote what destiny could mean. Yet, as centuries passed, internal rivalries began to fracture the unity they fought for. Ambition returned, corruption crept in, and the power that once protected Islam began to decay within. But even in decline, the Mamluks left behind a legacy unmatched in courage, faith, and resilience. That proved no matter where one is born, in chains, in freedom, true strength lies in serving something greater than oneself.